Yeah, we're talking 2020 NFL Power Rankings, the preseason. That's right. As of the time of this recording, the teams have not hit preseason yet. And I will say this is the weirdest offseason in NFL history. Can you imagine no mini camps, no training camps, barely any news coming out of the draft? Very, very weird. But what I'm going to do this time, usually I do top 10 during the season. I like a lot of teams. I like more than 20 teams, but I'm going to cut it to the top 15. But before I do that, let me give some respect to the following teams that, yes, I know the fan base is not going to be happy that these teams didn't make my top 15, but let me tell you why. First, the Houston Texans. Look, you ship out DeAndre Hopkins. I don't like Bill O'Brien, the GM. But you have Deshaun Watson. That's not lost on me. They're going to figure things out. Now, Deshaun Watson loved throwing to DeAndre Hopkins. He does probably have better overall wide receivers to throw to this year, but it is going to be a little bit of a learning curve for him. David Johnson coming over should be a bell cow running back. We'll see what happens. But look, Houston Texans, I'm not saying that the sky is falling, but they did fall out of my top list. The Chicago Bears, Nick Foles coming in to complement that defense. I like them to take a step forward this year. Now, the problem is, in 2019, I feel like they were overhyped. I think everybody thought that the Chicago Bears defense would pick up right where they left off from the 2018 season, but they lost their defensive coordinator. That's hard to come back from. And then generational defenses, like we saw from the Chicago Bears in 2018, it's hard to repeat that performance season after season. I can count on probably one hand how many teams have done that in the last 30 or 40 years. So I personally was expecting them to take a step back last year. They did so, only a slight step back, but I think they spring forward this year. I'm keeping my eye on them. The Dallas Cowboys, the Dak Prescott situation, that has to shake out. Not having a full offseason and those reps in the new offense that Mike McCarthy is going to be installing there, I have questions about them. I like the Dallas Cowboys, but not enough to put them in this list. The Las Vegas Raiders, people are kind of sleeping on them. They added Ruggs in the draft. That was the key piece this offense needed last year. They had injuries. They're banged up. I like this team. I like Derek Carr's efficiency. I like Josh Jacobs running the ball. They're going to be a tough out. They're one of my favorite teams to bet towards the end of last season. People were snoozing on them. I wasn't. They made me a lot of money, so I have a soft spot for them because of that. The Denver Broncos, I like what this team is doing, but again, I think they needed that offseason. New offense, Pat Shurmur coming in, Drew Lock, inexperienced quarterback. He had a few games. The defensive coordinators have a lot of tape on him. Now, I think the Denver Broncos defense is going to be massively improved this year, but there are enough questions due to the lack of offseason to give me pause from pushing them up this list. The Cleveland Browns, again, another team kind of like Chicago. I felt they were a little overhyped going into last year. New offensive scheme, a coach that I believe in more than Freddie Kitchens coming in. I think that Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, the offense is going to be basically run through that running game, which is going to open more things up for a now healthy Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry in the group there, Austin Hooper coming over in free agency. I think Baker Mayfield's going to have a much more efficient season. They're on my radar. They're one of my favorite early season bets against the spread. So no disrespect, Cleveland. Again, just not quite enough to get up into my list there. A new head coach, new offensive philosophy, young quarterback, no offseason reps. It's going to impact really the Browns, and it's going to impact a lot of these teams. I think we'll see them catch steam and win more games towards the back half of the 2020 season. And then lastly on this respect list, the New York Jets. Everybody's talking about Sam Darnold. He's not meeting expectations. He was 7-6 as a quarterback last year. If he didn't catch mono, there's a valid argument that the New York Jets could have made the playoffs. You have Greg Williams. Look, Adam Gase and Greg Williams, in terms of running the offense and running the defense, I don't know that there's a less likable offensive group there, but these coaches get results. Second year, the personalities will probably implode like 3 or 4 years down the line. We're in year 2. I think the Jets take a step forward, and in this division, along with the Buffalo Bills, they have the most continuity. And like I've been saying, in an off season without reps, without enhanced coaching, without these guys kind of getting in there and film study in a room with everybody, that has an effect. So I like the Jets. They're another one of my teams that I'm going to be betting early against the spread because I think they're underrated. Now, my top 15, going in reverse order, the Los Angeles Rams cracked this list. I was flirting with leaving them in the respect area. Todd Gurley gone, right? Everybody knows about that. That was the big storyline last year. They draft Cam Akers. Is he going to be a bell cow running back? I don't know. I've seen the film on him. He seems more like a complimentary guy to me, but he certainly has that potential. Either way, I think McVay, for me, in my opinion, watching these games, and I do watch every game, I put a lot of last year's Rams on the shoulders of McVay. I think they threw way too much last year for my liking. I think they kind of take a step back, get back to what worked 2 years prior, or the 2 seasons prior to that. They're not coming off a Super Bowl hangover like another team in this division we'll talk about a little bit later in the San Francisco 49ers. I do think the Rams are going to take another step forward, and if the NFL expands to 7 playoff teams this year, we'll see what happens with what could be an abridged season. This whole mess that we're dealing with in the NFL community and really the global spectrum at this point. We'll see what happens with the Rams, but I do think that they're definitely in the playoff discussion. Number 14, the New England Patriots. Look, I know that Cam Newton coming in, it comes with a lot of hype. I'm pumping the brakes. This is going to be more of a quarterback battle than people want to believe. Bill Belichick, look, he doesn't care about hype. He cares about results. So if Cam Newton comes into the camp and he's not sharp and Jarrett Stidham's throwing the ball better, he has another year in this offense, Jarrett Stidham, look, it's not outside the realm of possibility, right? It's not outside the realm of possibility that Jarrett Stidham is the primary ball thrower. That said, at a minimum, we're going to see Cam Newton in short yardage situations, kind of like a Taysom Hill on steroids. Cam Newton will be a difference maker no matter what. Yes, it's likely that he will start, but let's just not crown them as Super Bowl champions just yet, all right? Let's pump the brakes. That's what I'm doing. And I mentioned with the Chicago Bears, a generational defense. It's hard to do that 2 years in a row. The Patriots, I know everybody's talking about the 49ers and the Ravens and everything last year. The Patriots were a damn good defense. So I don't know that they can play at the level. I don't know that this defense can routinely outscore the opposing offense like we saw early last year. They're going to take a little bit of a step back, but it's the Patriots. They have the best coach in football, in my opinion, at least in terms of tactics with respect to Andy Reid in Kansas City. So they're going to have something to say about this playoff chase, believe me. Number 13 on the list, the Buffalo Bills. Yes, I do have the Buffalo Bills as the best team in the AFC East. They could have won the division last year. I would say if Josh Allen was 1 or 2 years more experienced, maybe he would have made some throws in that last Patriots versus Bills game that they lost. Josh Allen, again, this offseason gives me some pause. I think he needed some more reps, but I like Josh Allen coming into to this system. It's going to be his his second year in this offensive system. So I think he's going to be better. Might even be his third year. I think it's the second year with Brian Daboll there. Number 12 on my list, the Tennessee Titans. I didn't really know what to do with them. I'll be honest with you. So Titans fans, I have a lot of respect for what Tannehill and what Derrick Henry did towards the end of last season, and the play caller, Arthur Smith, the offensive coordinator there. The reason I didn't put them in my top 10, and the only reason, is because at the end of last season, they were getting like a 90% red zone touchdown conversion percentage. That is next level. That's like Madden on easy level statistics. That is crazy. I don't think that the Titans offense will score touchdowns 90% of the time when they get in the red zone this year. But look, they're a really good team. I think they're my favorite team, second favorite team in the AFC South, but they're right up there. And I'll talk about the Colts in a little bit and why I put them ahead. Number 11, the Green Bay Packers, 13-3 last season. Look, I did not like the Green Bay Packers offseason, as I've been talking about in my podcast and everything else. I like the Packers. I think they overachieved last year. I think that this Packers team still has a massive hole opposite Davante Adams. They need somebody that can get deep. I do like the addition of Devin Funchess, don't get me wrong. I think he's a nice red zone target, but they need something more out of tight end. I know they drafted a rookie in 2019. Maybe he can ascend, but I need to see more down the field than what Alan Lazard has done. I think Green Bay takes a step back in terms of record this year. They need that dynamic playmaker downfield to open more things up for Davante Adams. Respect to the running game, respect to this defense. I think they'll kind of be better across the board in those areas. But teams can bottle up deep, and they can make it hard for Aaron Rodgers to be efficient when really Davante Adams is the only guy getting separation in between the 20s. So I have some questions there. Number 10, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Last year finished 7-9. They had 30 interceptions last year. Jameis Winston, 30 interceptions last year, and a defense that was bad. Todd Bowles is a really good defensive coach. That defense will be improved. Tom Brady, everybody wants to trash the guy. He threw for 4,000 yards in an offense where nobody could separate. Nobody could separate in New England last year. Tom Brady arguably has his best receiving core of his entire career in Evans and Godwin. Gronkowski coming back. They still have Cameron Brate, O.J. Howard. They have a lot of pieces. I think I'm probably even missing one. I think this offense is going to be fantastic. I think Brady will be efficient. If he can stay healthy in this downfield passing attack, this Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense or offense is going to be strong. Like I said, the defense will be improved. And this team is going to get better and better as we get in the offseason. Another thing, I've been talking about this abridged offseason and lack of reps. Tom Brady has been working with his receivers and getting that chemistry down throughout that offensive unit. That's going to make a difference as we get into regular season games. And remember, we might not even see at this point, as of the time of this recording, the NFL and the NFLPA have not agreed on how many preseason games are going to be played. We might not even see them until the regular season. I like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I'm going to like them more later in the season than earlier in the season. Number 9, the Minnesota Vikings. Look, I like them. They're strong. Coach Zimmer is fantastic. They lost a lot of pieces. They reloaded in the draft. I think with this offseason, trading Diggs, accumulating picks, adding that wide receiver in the draft. I like what they're doing. I like Gary Kubiak actually more than I like Kevin Stefanski running this offense from a schematics point of view. I think Minnesota long-term is definitely the team to beat in the NFC North. I don't love this offseason. That's why I dropped them a few spots in my rankings here, but they are still my favorite team in the NFC North this season due to the Green Bay Packers' lack of downfield passing attack. And I think that Gary Kubiak is going to have a better offensive approach, even if Dalvin Cook holds out. And I know that's a big question. But the big thing here is the defense is going to take time to gel early in the season. They're another team that I'm not loving against the spread early in the season, but in the back half of 2020, I think they're going to be very tough to beat. And that's when you want to be peaking towards the end of the season. Number 8 on my list, the Philadelphia Eagles. Look, Carson Wentz wins games in the regular season. The Philadelphia Eagles had their entire wide receiver core hurt last year. They basically figured out how to win with Miles Sanders, Dallas Goedert, and Zach Ertz as their only reliable offensive weapons. Add to that, kind of a healthy receiving core. We'll see what happens. The moron, Deshaun Jackson, we'll see what happens. As of now, it looks like he will stay on the roster. He's been apologetic. He's doing all the things that he can do at this point after that Twitter mismanagement or Instagram or whatever it was. But it looks like to me Philadelphia is definitely the team. They have the most continuity in the NFC East. Carson Wentz, I have no doubt that he's going to be able to lead the Eagles to at least 11 wins in the regular season. The big question is, can he stay healthy in the playoffs? And unfortunately, that's a valid question. Number 7 on my list, the Seattle Seahawks. I mentioned before that Tom Brady arguably has the best receiving core of his career. The same is true of Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson's getting better and better as a pure passing quarterback. Not that he was ever bad, but I'm just saying he's getting better. I think we're going to be seeing... When Russell Wilson retires, I think we're going to be looking back at about now in the next 3 to 4 years as his best NFL seasons. I love Russell Wilson, the player. I don't really like the Seahawks so much, but you got to respect what they do. They're going to be very, very tough to beat. They play in a really tough division, but they're going to be tough to beat this year for sure. Number 6 on my list is the Indianapolis Colts. Now, why did I put them up there? This team was really good with Jacoby Brissett, an inefficient passer last year. Phillip Rivers. Yes, I've been talking about lack of off-season reps and everything. Phillip Rivers, his best years as a quarterback came with Frank Reich as his offensive coordinator and play caller. Phillip Rivers knows this offense. He's going to be able to add a dimension. My question for the and by the way, Jonathan Taylor at running back in this draft, certainly one of the best running backs. To me, I think he's the second best running back in the draft. I'll talk about my favorite running back in just a little bit here. But the offensive line, right? The defense, they're all very good. My big question is, what can the Colts do opposite T.Y. Hilton? I know they've made some investment in the draft in recent years. What can they do? But I think the better passing efficiency with Rivers puts them just slightly above Tennessee, because I think Tennessee is going to slightly move backward based on that red zone percentage that we talked about earlier. Let's see here. Number 5 on my list, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Look, Pittsburgh went 8-6 with the combination of, I don't even remember the quarterbacks' names at this point. And I don't even want to know who those quarterbacks were. 8-6 with those bad kind of backup quarterbacks. What does that tell you? That tells you the defense and special teams are strong. They're going to continue to be strong. Roethlisberger coming back to this offense is going to breathe new life into Juju Smith-Schuster. They added Claypool in the draft, but I already like Deontay Johnson. I already like James Washington. I already like James Conner. They added a running back in the draft. I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are the most slept-on team at this point in the NFL. they are going to have something to say. They're going to be competing tooth and nail with these Baltimore Ravens. So we'll see what happens. But just adding an efficient quarterback to a team that was 8-6 without that quarterback, look, an extra 3 to 4 wins is very, very reasonable. Okay, let's see here. Number 4 on my list. With all respect, San Francisco. Look, I think San Francisco, the 49ers, are the best team in the NFC for the next 10 years. I think coming off that Super Bowl loss, very demoralizing. Teams have a little bit more tape on them, of course. Remember last year, everybody was talking about Jimmy Garoppolo and how he, was a disappointment in the Super Bowl. Let me be clear about this. Jimmy Garoppolo, I'm a buyer on him. In his first full regular season starting. His first full season starting, he took the team to the Super Bowl, okay? He outplayed the best player in the NFL, Patrick Mahomes, for 3.5 quarters. He missed 2 throws, and we're ready to get rid of him. Give me a break. I love the 49ers, but look, statistically speaking, the team that loses the Super Bowl, they have a tough time kind of gearing up and getting back in there. I love the talent. I love the organization. I love the coaching staff. Yes, I'm a buyer on Shanahan. I don't mean any disrespect, 49ers fans, but I think that Super Bowl loss will have a little bit of a mental effect. But I still think, like I said, I would not trade this roster, this coaching staff, this organization. I wouldn't trade it for any other team in the NFL. I think they'll have a little bit of a tough time, but I still have them winning the division in a very tough NFC West. So there you go. Number 3 on my list, the New Orleans Saints. I think they take a slight step ahead of the 49ers this year, specifically because they signed Emmanuel Sanders. That weakens the 49ers slightly, and it strengthens the New Orleans Saints. Now they have a viable downfield threat opposite of Michael Thomas. That's going to open things up for everybody. You cannot stop this offense. And this defense, I know this offense gets a lot of publicity. This defense is good. You can't really run on this defense. So this defense often makes teams one-dimensional. The defense makes teams one-dimensional. The offense gets better. I think New Orleans, if they can stay healthy, is the best team this season in the NFC West. Long-term, of course, not NFC West. The NFC, period. And then in the long term, like I said, San Francisco is still my top team over there. Look, the big question here is Drew Brees. If he plays a full season, can his legs hold up? That's the big question with these 40-plus-year-old quarterbacks. Can their legs withstand the wear and tear of a full season? We'll see how that goes. But for now, they're number 3. Number 2 on my list, the Baltimore Ravens. All respect, Baltimore. Look, I was kind of moving, jockeying position. I had Baltimore at 4, then 3, then 2, and so on and so forth. Here's the deal with Baltimore. I think Baltimore, they added the best running back in the draft, in my opinion, J.K. Dobbins. This defense is fantastic. The special teams is fantastic, okay? Lamar Jackson was crazy good last year. It's tough to sustain that over a period of time. I'm not a big fan of a quarterback running for 1,200 yards as your season-long strategy. However, I think we're going to see Lamar Jackson progress as a passer. I love his work ethic. I think he's going to be good. Don't forget Marquise Brown. He was hurt. I don't forget it. Marquise Brown gave them an over-the-top dimension last year. They added another receiver in the draft. I think this Baltimore Ravens team is going to be better than the 14-2 team we saw last year. I don't think they're going to win 14 games this year, but I think that they are a very viable Super Bowl threat. The reason I have the Kansas City Chiefs, who I'm talking about now, as number 1 is we saw what happened. Kansas City went down 24 points in the playoffs. If the Ravens went down last year by 24 points, they would have probably lost by 17. They were a play from ahead team last year. Now, Lamar Jackson needs to take that next step. He's an MVP. I love Lamar Jackson. He needs to take that next step where he can basically shake off a bad couple of quarters, not put too much pressure on himself, throw the ball downfield, and come from behind. Now, Mahomes has proven that ability time and time again. He doesn't get down. Lamar Jackson last year, he pressed a little bit in that Tennessee Titans playoff game. They went down by a couple scores. You could see him. He wasn't used to being, to losing at that point in the season because things had been going so strong. The Titans defense put a nice game plan together to kind of bottle them up and keep everything in front of them. Nothing really got behind them, and Lamar Jackson at that point wasn't really able to create downfield. Now, a healthy Marquise Brown, maybe you can create some stuff downfield, another offseason to work on for Lamar Jackson. I do think he takes a step ahead. I just don't think he's at the point where the Kansas City Chiefs are. We know that this offense can put up points quickly. We saw that against the Houston Texans in the playoffs last year. They are going to be very, very tough to beat. And an underrated storyline here is the Kansas City Chiefs. They had that new defensive coordinator. It took a while. It took probably maybe even 10 games for this defense to really gel and start to play a lot better. That's why I liked Kansas City in the playoffs as my favorite team to win the Super Bowl, along with the 49ers. I wavered back and forth, and wouldn't you know it, they played. The Kansas City Chiefs defense is going to be better. Patrick Mahomes, he was banged up with the ankle and the knee for about 10 games last year. I think that Kansas City is a very safe bet to win 12 to 13 games, maybe more. They added Edwards-Helaire in the draft. Probably the best pass-catching running back. Adds another dimension to this already strong offense. And like I said, the defense is improving. Kansas City is my number one team going into the season, and they earned it with the Super Bowl win last year. So there you go. There are my power rankings. If you disagree, please give me your top 10. Comment below. Subscribe to the channel. Like this video, and we'll catch you in another power rankings soon. Thanks, everyone.